Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Tuesday, June the 22nd. We do have another showdown slate for today, and pretty much moving forward, we're just going to be covering showdown because that's really all we're going to have. We're just going to have one game a day. We got game 2 of the Western Conference Finals between the Clippers and the Suns. As always, guys, we're going to break down this showdown slate, kind of talk about the player pool from top to bottom, just the guys I have interest in, really anyone that's going to step on the floor. We'll be sure to touch on them, really just anyone I expect to, see minutes because, showdown, random stuff can happen. Really anyone that's going to be on the floor is playable in my opinion because you can just see random stuff happen where a guy plays 8 minutes, scores 15 DK points, and he's in the winning lineup. Like, showdown's just a totally different strategy. So we'll talk about the player pool kind of from top to bottom. Also, before we do get started with the video, be sure to click that like button, click the subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You also do get notified every time I live stream. And as you can see below at the bottom of the screen, for those of you that maybe have not been tuning into the videos lately, or if you're new to the channel, we are now partnered with PrizePicks, and we're going to be working a lot with PrizePicks moving forward. PrizePicks is a fun new way to play DFS. This is something that I've been really getting into, especially for days like today and kind of moving forward the rest of the season. Me personally, I've never been that big of a fan of Showdown. Like, it's just not, I don't think it's a good way to play DFS. I don't think it's like a profitable strategy long term. I think it's just more for fun. You're kind of playing for the bink, and that's really it. Like, in my opinion, Showdown, you should expect to lose money in Showdown, and if you so happen to get lucky and you bink, then so be it. But I think a good way to be profitable, playing long term is on PrizePicks. They have a fun way to play. Basically, they give their projection for each player. They have their fantasy projection listed for each player, and you can pick, whether you think they go over or under their fantasy projection. They have pretty much every viable player, really everyone that they expect to see minutes is on, PrizePicks. You can choose their over or under. They also do single stat as well. This is pretty much their, point projection, rebound projection, assist projection. You can also take the over or under on that. And you can do like, 3-pick play, a 4-pick play. You have to pick at least 2 players, and then you can kind of decide how you want to play it. If you kind of want to go for like a power play, which is what I like to do, it's, a little bit harder to win. You do have to get every pick right. But as you can see, if you do a 2-pick power play, that pays out 3x. So if you put $50 on that, that would pay out $150. You could do a 3-pick power play, that would pay out 5x. You could do a 4-pick power play, which pays out the maximum, which is 10x. It's kind of a cool way to, play DFS. For me, it's been fun, especially on days like today where we only have one game. I would rather, play on PrizePicks than play Showdown, just, in my opinion. That's probably what I'm going to do kind of moving forward the rest of the season. I'm not going to have too much volume invested in Showdown just because I don't think it's, I don't think it's a long-term profitable way to play DFS, just in my opinion. I don't think there's enough of an edge. But, talking about PrizePicks, looking at some of the guys they have listed for today, their projections feel pretty accurate, at least the fantasy point projections. Like, a lot of the guys I see here, I don't think there's a ton that stands out. Obviously, I'm going to make some picks, but like, I think the over on Cameron Payne, 31, that feels like a good projection for him. But last game, he did go for 33 fantasy points. He did play, I believe, about 30 minutes, and he also got into some foul trouble. He probably could have played more than 30 minutes had he not been in foul trouble. Cameron Payne is a productive player when he does get minutes. Obviously, the minutes are going to be there right now while Chris Paul remains out. Chris Paul, has already been ruled out for today. So I do like the over 31 fantasy points for Cameron Payne. I think the over on Devin Booker and Paul George, like, their projections feel pretty accurate, but, in games like this, in these playoff games, like, you're just going to see these guys play 40, 44 minutes. I mean, Booker played 44. Paul George played, I believe, like 39 or 40. I mean, Paul George last game went for 54 fantasy points, so he just barely went over his projection. Devin Booker obviously crushed his projection, went for 70. I'm not expecting 70 points again from Devin Booker, but without Chris Paul, I think he's, the entire offense is going to run through Booker. He's going to have the ball in his hands a ton. He had triple-double last game. I think it, makes sense for him to do more when Chris Paul's off the floor. He's just, obviously the assist numbers will go up. He's going to have more opportunity to score. I like the over on Devin Booker. Like, I think over on Booker, over on Payne makes some sense as kind of first look. And then these other guys, like, a lot of these projections feel pretty accurate. Jay Crowder, 23.5. I wouldn't mind taking the over there. I don't feel great about it, but most nights Jay Crowder is going to play 30 to 35 minutes. He probably scores 25, 26 fantasy points most nights. So if you want to take the over on Jay Crowder, I'm kind of fine with that one too. But definitely over on Devin Booker, over on Cameron Payne. I think those are kind of my two favorite early picks on PrizePicks. As the day goes on, Tuesday, I'll kind of look through and find some more that I like. I do, kind of try and help my Patreon members out. If you guys are Patreon members, I do normally try and, give out some PrizePicks picks that I like, for the day. So I'll definitely take a look, Tuesday to kind of take a deeper dive and see what I like for PrizePicks. But just, first look over on Devin Booker, over on Cameron Payne, and over on Jay Crowder, I think are three kind of early picks I like for this game on Tuesday. But yeah, that's enough talking about PrizePicks. If you guys do want to check them out, just be sure to use promo code NOAH when you do sign up. That'll give you a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. If you do decide to join, use that promo code. They will match your first deposit up to $100. So if you do deposit $100, they will give you an additional $100 to play with. But yeah, guys, be sure to check out PrizePicks. Link down below in the description, or just use promo code NOAH when you do sign up. But let's go and take a look at this showdown slate. And we'll start off at the top of the player pool, just work our way down. We got Paul George, Devin Booker at the top. Clearly, the two best, just overall spin-ups, the two top-tier studs that we can look to on the slate. Last game, Paul George played 39 minutes, had 55 DK points. Kawhi Leonard's already been ruled out again for today's game, so I would expect, similar numbers for Paul George. I would expect him to play 40-plus minutes most likely. He took 26 shots last game. I mean, with Kawhi off the floor, the offense is running through Paul George. He's just getting a ton of usage. He's a guy that can do stuff with the peripherals. He doesn't have to go for 35, 40 points. Obviously, you would want him to, but he can get you 8, 9, 10 rebounds. He can get you 6, 7 assists. He has double-double, triple-double upside. We've kind of seen those games where Paul George can put up double-digit rebounds, get you close to double-digit assists. At 12K, him and Devin Booker, I think if I can play both, if I'm playing Showdown today, I'm probably going to try and play a lot of Booker and a lot of Paul George. And if I was playing one lineup, I think I would want to get both those guys together. They're just by far the two best, studs. They have the most upside. Booker, obviously, last game had a massive game, had a triple-double, 77 Draftkings points, played 44 minutes. I'm not expecting Booker to put up 77 again, but he definitely has 55, 60-point upside, especially when you do take Chris Paul off the floor. There's just going to be more usage available for Booker. He's going to have the ball in his hands more. He's going to play a ton of minutes. I mean, I don't need to tell you guys that Booker and PG are good plays. I mean, you already kind of know that. So, love Paul George, love Devin Booker. I think if I had to pick one, I might give the slight edge to Paul George just because I think Booker might be a little higher owned, especially because he had such a good game last game. But really, both guys are great plays, and if you can play both of them, I would try and do that. But then once you get past PG and Booker, you got DeAndre Ayton at 9,200. He didn't have that great of a game last game. He did play 37 minutes, but only had 33 DK points. He was one rebound shy of a double-double, so he probably could have had a few more DK points. He probably would have went for 36 or 37 had he gotten an additional rebound, because that would have gave him, the double-double bonus. It kind of makes sense for Ayton to do well in this series. You would think he's going to have a lot of success, against this small ball Clippers team. Obviously, Rudy Gobert wasn't able to have much success against the Clippers, but I think Ayton will be a guy that, has success in this matchup. He's going to play 36 to 38 minutes as long as it's a close game and he's, not in foul trouble. At 9,200, I don't know if he's a guy that really stands out to me, but obviously playable. There are some guys for cheaper, though, that I think have just as much upside that I would probably rather play. Reggie Jackson, 8,600. He had another good game last game, 39 DK points, played 39 minutes. He's someone that I do like a lot in this mid-range. I think I would prefer Reggie Jackson over DeAndre Ayton. Pretty much since Kawhi Leonard went down, we've seen Reggie Jackson play a ton of minutes. He's played at least 37 minutes in 3 straight games. I think the minutes are going to be secure for Reggie. I think he's going to get 35-plus minutes on a nightly basis. He's one of these guys that can score. Obviously, they need some additional scoring with Kawhi off the floor, and Reggie Jackson can give that to him. So if we're getting 38 to 40 minutes from Reggie Jackson, I mean, this is someone that has upside when he gets minutes, and especially with Kawhi out, there's going to be more usage available for Reggie. So I like him a lot in the mid-range. I do prefer him over Ayton. I prefer him over guys like Bridges and Batum. Bridges, never someone I really like to play just because he doesn't have a ton of upside. I mean, I know he had that 44-point game against Denver, but normally Mikal Bridges is scoring anywhere between 30, 35 DK points at the max. Last game he had 25 DK points in 36 minutes. He is going to play a ton of minutes. He's going to play probably 35, 36 minutes, but obviously if you're playing a lot of lineups, you're probably going to have some Mikal Bridges, but I think if I'm playing one lineup today on Showdown, I doubt Mikal Bridges is probably, I doubt he cracks my one lineup. I just think there are going to be other guys I probably lean to, like Reggie Jackson, who we just mentioned. I'd probably prefer in that price range. So not too much interest in Bridges. Batum, he was really good for those first few games with Kawhi out. Last game he wasn't great, but he still did play 37 minutes. He's pretty much, since they inserted him into the starting lineup, he's been playing massive minutes. I mean, 42, 40, 37. I think we get 35, 40 minutes from Batum. At 7,600, feels priced about right. I think you get more upside from a guy like Reggie Jackson. I think you get more upside from someone like Cameron Payne, who we'll talk about, who I think is a really good play. But Batum is definitely viable. Between Batum or Bridges, I think I'd actually prefer Batum there. Then you have Jay Crowder. Again, another guy that's probably going to play 35, 36 minutes. Him, Batum, Bridges, like they all feel kind of the same. Like they all feel like the same play. None of these guys have massive upside. Most nights you're going to get 25, 30 DK points from Crowder, from Bridges, from Batum. If I had to pick one, though, I think Batum plays the most minutes of the three, so I would just probably lean him. All three of those guys are viable. I have no problems with any of them, but I think if I had to choose one of those like mid-range forwards, Batum I think is my favorite. And then you have Marcus Morris at 7K. Marcus Morris last game I believe did get injured. He did not start the second half. He did wind up coming back into the game, but he only played 21 minutes. They said he was going to be uncertain to play, and then we got another update that he's off the injury report. So I'm assuming that Marcus Morris plays here, but this will be something to keep an eye on. We don't exactly know if he's going to start again. Like they did start Zubac ahead of him in the second half. I don't know if that was because Morris was hurt or just because they wanted Zubac out there. Just keep an eye on this. I don't think it's a guarantee that Morris starts again. I think it's 7K. He's a pretty risky option just because we don't exactly know if he's fully healthy. The fact that he was uncertain to play and then he just randomly is not on the injury report, like that kind of makes me a little skeptical. I think he'll be low owned though, especially after he busted, and kind of with two back-to-back bad games, you really kind of see it like in showdown, especially on days like this where you're playing the same team over and over. Like Morris busted in game one, that's automatically going to make him low owned here. So if you want to go to a low owned Marcus Morris, I'm fine with it. We know he has upside with Kawhi off the floor. But I would be lying to you if I said I felt good about Morris. Like I don't feel great about Morris right now. I think I would rather play guys like Batum, Crowder, Bridges. I'd rather just play those guys. But then once you get to like the 6K range, Terrence Mann, he had that massive game in Game 6 against Utah, but then he came back down to earth last game against Phoenix in Game 1 of the series. 19 DK points in 27 minutes. I said it in my video that last slate, like you had to be a little bit hesitant to go to Mann just because, he's not going to be a guy that puts up 50 DK points every night. Like, he's just not that type of player. He only took 4 shots last game. I mean, at 6,400, I don't really want to go to Terrence Mann on this slate, especially when you have Cameron Payne, who I just feel way better about. Cameron Payne, I think, is probably one of the more underpriced players on this slate. Like, he should be probably 8K, close to 9K. The fact that he's 6,200, I think he's a really strong option. I think he's probably one of the better, like, cheap captain plays. If you're not going to pay up at captain for Booker or PG, I think, Cameron Payne's probably the next guy I'm going to look to as a captain option. I'm not saying he's going to go out there and put up, 50 DK points or anything, but at 6,200, for him to be in the optimal lineup at captain, like he probably needs to put up 35 to 40, which he can easily do. And as long as Booker doesn't go for 70 again, like there's a good chance that Cameron Payne could be the optimal captain tonight. So at 6,200, I like him a lot. I think he has a ton of upside. Last game he played 29 minutes, but he could have played more. He was in foul trouble. If he's not in foul trouble, I think we do get probably 33, 34 minutes from Cameron Payne. He was 1 assist shy of a double-double last game. So, if he gets that 1 assist, he probably scores like 36 DK points. Definitely like Cameron Payne here. He's way too cheap. He should be, priced up with Reggie Jackson, with DeAndre Ayton. Like, he's too cheap. I love Cameron Payne on this slate. One of the best plays in my opinion, and definitely, a viable captain option because he does have upside and he is super affordable. If you play Cameron Payne at captain, that's going to allow you to definitely fit in Paul George, Devin Booker, maybe even an additional guy at that top tier like Ayton or Jackson. But then you have Cameron Johnson, who surprisingly did see a good amount of minutes last game, 24 minutes. I don't really know if he plays 24 minutes again, but he has been a pretty stable part of this Phoenix rotation. Most nights you're going to get 15 to 20 minutes from Cameron Johnson. Again, he's not a guy that I really like to play because he doesn't have a ton of upside. Plus, he's been priced up to 5,400. Between him or Cameron Payne, like if I can find the salary, I would much rather play Cameron Payne. But once you get past Cameron Payne, there's definitely a lot of wild cards down here, like guys that have upside, but you don't really know if they're going to play, the same minutes that they did last game. If Cameron Johnson does play 24 minutes again, he'll be viable, but I have no confidence that he does. I'm a little bit hesitant to go there. I think I'd rather just go cheaper and play some of these guys that could maybe play similar minutes and are, have just as much potential to outscore Cameron Payne or Cameron Johnson, For example, a guy like Rondo. Rondo last game played 22 minutes. Pretty much since Paul George has been ruled out, Rondo really wasn't in the rotation in that Utah series. But then after Paul George, I didn't mean to say Paul George. Kawhi got ruled out. Ever since Kawhi got ruled out, we've seen Rondo back in the rotation, played 9 minutes, played 7 minutes in the Utah series, but then last game, he played 22 minutes. Now, I have no idea if Rondo plays 22 minutes again, but this is a different matchup against Phoenix. Maybe they go with Rondo here instead of Patrick Beverley. Like, it seemed like they did prefer Beverley over Rondo last series, but maybe it's different here against Phoenix. If we get anywhere near 22 minutes again from Rondo, I mean, we know this is someone that can be productive when he's on the floor, can score, can get assists, can grab a few rebounds. I'm willing to take a shot on him at 2,600. We don't have too much punt value that really stands out. So I think going to Rondo at 2,600, if I'm looking for a guy this cheap, he's probably my favorite. I prefer him over guys like Torrey Craig and Dario Saric and Boogie. Like, Boogie played 11 minutes last game, or 13 minutes last game, but I have no confidence that he plays, that again. We kind of saw at the beginning of the Utah series that, we saw the Clippers run a deeper rotation. They played like 5 or 6 guys off the bench. But then as the series went on, they started to shorten their rotation. That's probably what they're going to do here. They played 5 guys off the bench last game. There's no guarantee that they play those same 5 guys again. Like, I have no confidence that Boogie plays 13 minutes again, or if he even plays at all. Like, I don't think there's a guarantee that he even steps on the floor here, just because he really hasn't been a part of the playoff rotation. He barely played in the Utah series. He played 15 total minutes. There's a good chance Boogie doesn't play today. Now, if he does play 13 minutes again or somewhere close to that, he is viable at 2K. I just have no confidence that Boogie, gets those minutes again or even steps on the floor. So I'm kind of scared to go there. I feel better about Rondo, who I do expect. I think worst case scenario, Rondo plays at least like 10 minutes, and obviously he could play way more than that, especially if they do what they did last game. Whereas Boogie could legit not play. I feel pretty confident that Rondo's at least going to step on the floor. But then like Torrey Craig and Patrick Beverley, like Beverley was getting minutes in the Utah series, but then last game he only played 15 minutes. Already, Beverley's not a guy that I really like to roster just because he doesn't have much upside. He's 4,200. He feels priced correctly. Even if Beverley plays like 20 minutes, he probably doesn't kill me. Like, if he goes for 15 DK points in 20 minutes, I doubt he makes the optimal lineup. So I'm fine kind of avoiding Beverley. Zubac, I'm going to be kind of interested in if they do change up the starting lineup. Like I said, he did start the second half in place of Marcus Morris last game. There's a possibility that maybe he starts here, or I don't really know if that was just because Morris was injured. But if Zubac does start, I mean, he played 18 minutes last game. If he winds up starting, I would like him a lot for value at 4,600. But if he comes off the bench, it's obviously a lot more risky just because we really don't know what his minutes are going to look like off the bench. During that Utah series, some games he'd play like 15 minutes, and then some games he'd play like 8 minutes. Just a wait and see for me. I think with Zubac's price where it is, I want him to be starting. If he's not starting, then I'm probably just going to avoid him. But like Torrey Craig's probably the last guy we'll mention. He's actually been pretty productive this season with Chris Paul off the floor. I looked at the numbers earlier, and Torrey Craig's actually averaged over a fantasy point per minute this season with CP3 off the floor, and he was productive last game. He only played 15 minutes, but he did have 18 Draftkings points in that time. Now, I don't really know how many minutes Craig plays here, but kind of similar to Cameron Johnson, he's been a pretty stable part of this Phoenix rotation. During the Denver series, he was playing like 10 to 15 minutes a night. So I think we probably get at least like 13, 15 minutes from Craig, maybe more. At 3,400, I think him and Rondo are kind of the two guys I'm willing to take a shot on. If I'm looking for guys like below, basically Cameron Johnson or below, I think, if I'm looking for value plays down here, I'm fine taking a shot on Craig, taking a shot on Rondo, just because Craig actually has been productive this season with Chris Paul off the floor, and Rondo, we know, is a productive player when he does get minutes. The rest of these guys, though, I don't feel great about. Like Cameron Johnson at 5,400, he's so closely priced to Cameron Payne that I would just rather play Cameron Payne. Zubac, I don't really know how many minutes he gets. If he starts, I'd like him, but I don't think that's going to happen. Beverley, where his price is, I just don't really like him that much either, so I think that's probably it for this showdown slate. Luke Kennard played like 7 minutes last game. I don't really have any interest in Kennard. Could he play more than that? He could, but I don't feel great about him. Etuan Moore played a little bit. He played 11 minutes, but I'm not going to go there. So, yeah, I think the cheapest guys I'm looking to are definitely Rondo and Torrey Craig. I think if I'm looking just for punt plays, if I'm trying to jam in, Booker and Paul, or not Booker and Paul, but Booker and Paul George at the top, then I'm definitely, Craig, Rondo would probably make those lineups, in the lineups where I do maybe pay up a captain. But just talking about captain plays, clearly Paul George and Devin Booker are probably the two guys you want to be playing at captain. I think, they have obviously the most upside. They're the safest captains. They're going to be popular at captain, though. If I'm playing one lineup, I probably do play one of those two at captain. I think I'd give the edge to Paul George, but obviously both are great plays. But if you do want a little bit of a cheaper captain play, I do like Cameron Payne a lot at captain. I mean, if you plug him in the captain spot, that still leaves you over 8K remaining per player. So you could definitely make, you could probably play, if you put Cameron Payne in at captain with PG and Booker, I mean, that leaves you 5,600 per player. Like, you could easily make that work. I mean, we talked about guys I like down here for cheap, Torrey Craig, Rondo. You plug them in, you got plenty of salary to fit in, one of these mid-range options. So I like that, going Cameron Payne at captain with CP or with Paul George and Booker, or if you wanted to pay up at captain for one of those two studs, I'm fine with that too. But I think Cameron Payne, Paul George, Devin Booker, my 3 favorite plays overall. Obviously, it's hard not to like those top 2 guys. Definitely Cameron Payne I like a lot as a lower owned, cheaper captain option. But I think that does it for the showdown slate, guys. I think we kind of talked about, the entire player pool. What I like for today, broke everything down. We talked about some of my favorite plays or picks over on PrizePicks as well. Again, guys, if you have not checked out PrizePicks yet, if you do want to see what they have to offer, you want to check out some of their contests, some of their, or if you want to get some picks in for tonight's game, be sure to use promo code NOAH when you do sign up. That will give you a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. So if you do decide to deposit $100, PrizePicks will match that and give you an additional $100 to play with. But that does it for today's video, guys. I appreciate you watching. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell as well, so that way you do get notified every time I upload, and you also do get notified every time I live stream. But best of luck on tonight's slate, guys. We'll see you in the next one.